I'm the other Ian. I'm Ian Stringer. I'm chair of ILIG, and tonight I welcome another Ian, Ian Anstice. This is a series that we have in ILIG. We always have informals every month or so. Usually when there's a famous personality in town, or if I can drag the famous personality to town. And we hope you enjoy it. So Ian's here to tell us, as you probably know, he does the Public Library News, which is an incredible venture by someone who just does it off his own bat, almost as his hobby. And yet it's become so important that politicians cringe now when they see his figures because...
I wish.
No, the thing is, Ian tells the truth, and politicians don't like that. Over to you, Ian. I'm a truth teller.
Well, you can always measure how much of this you think is truthful afterwards. Hello, I'm going to work out how to do this. If I press that point, it should go. So, yeah, I'm not sure how many of you know about the Public Library's news website. Hands up if you've ever been on it. Well, it's okay, I don't mind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, quite a lot, thank you. That's great. Yeah, it's a hobby. Let's not kid around. It's a hobby. This is me. Look, professional photograph, ladies and gentlemen. I've gained about 2 stones since then. So I am actually a professionally qualified public librarian, of which there are not many left. And I work for Cheshire West and Chester Council as a locality librarian. I started off as an inquiry librarian in '94. I learned how to use all the paper sources, the DNB, all of that, absolutely fantastic stuff. Then for my sins, I became a branch manager and learned all about fixing toilets and all of that, and that was fantastic. I loved that. Particularly loved the children's work, so going into schools, doing school assemblies, getting all the kids getting excited about the Summer Reading Challenge, getting them all to go, ooh, when they see all the medals. It's lovely. Love all of that. And I was quite happy with myself, you know. I'm a smug individual. I'm quite happy. Everyone's saying I was doing a good job. But what annoyed me was I didn't actually know what was going on anywhere else. I had no idea. There were rumours. Have you heard that Somerset has cut its book fund? Have they? Why? Why have they done that? What's the background? Why have they done such a thing? Idea stores are terrible. They've got a non-librarian making decisions there. So, and all of that, just didn't know background. I'd heard that blogging was pretty cool. I'd heard the word blog, and I thought, well, I have no idea how to do that. So I thought I'd combine the 2 activities and do a blog about what was happening in public libraries. And I thought that would be a small hobby, a few minutes a day sort of thing, and 1 or 2 people might read it, but really it was for my own personal continuing professional development, I guess. Because I'm based in Cheshire, London is far away, so it was a very sort of provincial start I had. First steps, Blogger, anyone heard of Blogger? So easy to use. It is such an easy site to use. If you want to set up your own website, it was so easy to get my own domain with it. You didn't need to know any coding whatsoever. It was great. In 2010 when I started, it took me an evening to understand it. It took me probably the same evening I published something. It was so easy to do. Simple, free, and that sofa there, that's not actually my sofa, but it looks a lot like it. This is where I do the Public Library's news website from. I do it on a sofa in my living room. And it so amuses me when the chief executive or a politician says, and who funds you? That is a thing. I do, you know. If there ever was a time when the public library sector could afford a full-time information person to tell people what was going on, that time is not now. Or rather, the money is being spent in different ways. There is no money for this, okay? I get a bit of advertising, it's in the hundreds, some years I'm very lucky, thousands of pounds. But in terms of hours which I spend Okay, now's the time when you can back away slowly to the door because I can spend 2 or 3 hours a night on this. Okay, I work full time as a public librarian. I have 2 kids, I have a wife, I do the laundry, and then when all the kids have gone to bed and so on, and my wife is putting on some sort of medical drama on TV, the laptop comes out and I spend 2 or 3 hours checking emails and doing the website. All right. Thing is with bloggers, it's 10 pages. It's nothing. All right. Not what I want to do. Not when my ambitions extended, and they extended minute by minute, page by page. As something else interesting came up, or someone gave me a suggestion, I thought, well, look, I'm reading all of the articles on the media anyway. Let's collate them. Let's count the number of libraries being closed. No one else is doing it. Let's do that sort of thing. But 10 pages, nothing. All right? My site at the moment, I have lost count. I've literally lost count. I think it's less than 1,000 pages. I think. Don't know. Another thing I do, because I believe in making information easy. All right? I don't use long words. I make things graphical. So when libraries being cut, and this is back in 2010, 2011, and I was pretty militant in those days. The more I learn, the less revolutionary socialist I am. You know, the more I'm aware that there are people out there who are actually closing libraries because I think it's a good thing and there's reasons for it. All right. Back in 2010, 2011, I was dead against any library closures or cuts for any purpose. So I did Google Maps. Google Maps is terribly easy, and I plotted every single threatened library to close. All right, and I counted them. And if you clicked on one of those little dots, it came up with information, and this is the key thing, linked to the news article. So no one could argue that I was making it up. All right? There was strong evidence for everything which I said. So when the political editor of The Independent phoned me up at work one day and said he'd been on the website and he saw I had a figure of 200 libraries threatened in the last year. And where did I get that figure from? And I said, well, it's on this webpage and every single one is linked. You could hear his joy over the phone line. And that made front page news in The Independent. Okay, front page! It wasn't the main story, but it was the one down the bottom, 200 libraries closed in the last year. Because it's something I was doing on the sofa in my spare time. Google Maps was great. This is a lady from Bristol, I never met her, Demouser. Actually, no, she's Hampshire. I might be wrong. But she was speaking to a local WI group about why WI's national campaign should be public libraries, okay? And she used my map there as one of the key slides for it. And I think people like simple, easy images. And when you've got a map like that, each one of those blue dots is a threatened library, okay? When you've got a simple image like that, people go, oh my God! And they actually pay attention. And when people ask questions, it was very easy to do. And I had a small part to play, a tiny part, in helping the WI accept public libraries as their national campaign that year. And a lot of good things came from that. Then I started doing other stuff. Okay, social media. It's a drug, isn't it? It's addictive. If I've not got a Twitter notification within, each hour, I think I'm a failure as a human being. But tremendously useful thing to find out what's going on. And I can tweet something and people will tweet it, but people will respond. It's a two-way medium. And for website, for all the good stuff with it, it's actually quite one way, because get the comments section working effectively. Well, I can only log on the site when I'm in the evening. So if people are making comments during the day, I can't really approve them. So it's quite a one-way thing. I don't get many comments on the site, whereas Twitter is immediate and you get immediate feedback. This morning I was asking about what you think a good national slogan is for libraries. And within an hour, 55 people had voted to tell me which ones they preferred. And my favourite didn't get many votes at all, so I thought, well, forget that then. I'll go with something else. Libraries Change Lives, which is the European 2020 Libraries slogan, I think, came out as a clear favourite, so I like that one. There's a two-way process, and the thing I noticed, and has a basis on this talk, is, my God, there were people from outside of the UK interested. There were people talking about public libraries who were not English. It was a shock. And some of them were talking to me and telling me things, and some of them had good ideas which I'd never heard about. And it became obvious that no one else in the UK who was subscribing knew about it as well. So suddenly my horizons expanded a bit. Just going back a bit to what Public Libraries News website does, it's local, national and international. I have small ambitions. So I read every media report about public libraries published that I spot on all sorts of different channels. I think I get almost all of them. And I draw out of that any changes, substantive changes that's happened in a particular authority, number of closures, budget cuts, new libraries happen, all sorts of things. And then I have on this side here, right hand side, I count them and I link them. So you can say, like, that number of libraries under that number of libraries is being opened. And you can go into another page, and I think there's about 30 different pages of different authorities. And you can look at each authority and you can see what's happening for each authority. And now, because I've been doing it for 6 years, you've got 6 years of data on precisely what's happening on those local authorities. That's more than the DCMS has. The DCMS use my site. This is quite amusing. Sometimes, whenever I'm talking to some DCMS, I'm not always all that polite about a DCMS sometimes, because, you know, I would argue for Ed Vasey hasn't done all he could for public libraries over the last 6 years. It becomes obvious they all read my website. So, oh well, bless them. So, I got down there, and all the blue stuff there, that's linked to. Alright, so if you're not sure, you can link to that and ask for news article. Always cite your sources, alright? It's a librarian thing. But it's amazing. Politicians almost never do. But as a librarian, it's something that came naturally to. So if you want to know what's happening in your own borough, go to my website and you can find out. And because it's 6 years now, the institutional memory of some of these authorities are less than that. So I can see that actually that's their third round of cuts in 6 years, which sometimes comes as news to a politician. And you can tell them, hello, nice to see you, no, to come in. So that's local and that's national. And by the way, House of Commons were quoting my figures within 4 months.
Wow.
Okay, 4 months of me starting, because it wasn't anyone else. No one else was doing it, except they were absolutely hopeless. It was 2 years out of date. And even then they relied on local authorities giving them the data, and the definitions were really dodgy. So there's no one else doing it, and I could give them detailed stuff. So they were actually being quoted in Parliament. Have you heard of something called the echo chamber?
Yeah.
Okay, the echo chamber is when librarians talk and only other librarians listen. I have never had that problem. All right. Politicians, media from the word go have been using this website and talking to me, much to my shock at the beginning, because I was providing a unique selling point. I was giving them the information, I was giving them the details that no one else had. And also, my website name, Public Libraries News. What a terrible name for a website. It's not sexy at all, is it? It's top of Google engine. Because if you want to know what's happening on public libraries, Google naturally think that a website called Public Libraries News might have something to do with it. And because I'm linking to a whole bunch of websites which have got libraries in the articles, Google loves me. All right. If you type in public libraries for a disturbing number of different searches, I come on top with this website. It really affects me when I'm doing research, because I'm thinking, I don't want to know what I already know. I want to know someone else's website, but it's all my stuff. But I was doing international stuff from the beginning. I was quoting it. This is from 2010. Guam, island chain. 4 out of 6 libraries due to close due to cuts in 2010. I don't even know where Guam is. I'd have to Google it. But they were doing it. sometimes that can be a bit ironic, because do you know the British Council have opened 2 new libraries in Pakistan in the last week?
Yeah.
What's the British government funding the British Council to open 2 new libraries in Pakistan?
Oh, you know why?
No.
Well,
It's
go on.
fun. I mean, it's propaganda, isn't it? They're giving money to Pakistan.
Yeah, I mean, it's
because-
great. It's great for the British Council. I can understand why they're doing it, but there's a certain irony in that once the British government opened a public library in the UK, or done much to stop them closing. So sometimes a bit ironic. And when people started inviting me to international conferences, I do not speak French. Okay? And so they invited me to speak at the conference in Lyon in 2013. I thought I'd have a simultaneous translator. I did not have a simultaneous translator. I was 100 odd French librarians watching me speaking English to them. Luckily, I translated my PowerPoint into French, but they were very nice and nothing got thrown. I talked to the boss of the ABF, the president of the ABF, afterwards to ask why she invited me, and she made it clear it was to terrify them. Okay, that was the reason I got invited to France, to wake them up and let them know that it could happen to you.
Yeah.
All right. There's nothing special about the English public library system that makes it vulnerable to this sort of stuff. It is the government's austerity and so on, and technological change. It's both together, whacking them at the same time, as seriously cut public libraries. In France, they've not gone through that yet because they don't have austerity. They've got technological change, but they don't have the austerity in the same way. When that happens, the French librarians need to have thought about it, need to get their strategy together. And I was there to try, I suspect I was there, to try and wake them up a bit and to stop them being complacent. And it must have worked because they invited me back for next year. I had not learned how to speak French in the intervening year, okay? But at least this time I knew there would not be simultaneous translation, and there were a lot more questions that year. So I think they must have been something in the thing saying, he does not speak French. So I think we had lots of English-speaking librarians during that session. But I'm not sure how many public librarians get to speak at international conferences. I know you do.
Yes, I do.
But you know, that was really nice, and I really enjoyed doing that. Partially because you get to meet different people, and you get to meet for sort of leading thinkers, possibly, or the best speakers, or whatever. From different countries. So this is me in Spain, having difficulty with the simultaneous translation. Okay, because they had it, but can I get my headphones to work now? I can. But when they did, it was fine. What I discovered with simultaneous translation is if you make a joke, you've got to wait 5 seconds. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, it is so off-putting. It is so off-putting when you crack a joke and you instantly expecting her to be laughing, you've got to wait 5 seconds, and you moved on to something else and you're not sure why they're laughing. Portugal charges you in books. Yeah, you find out what's happening on. Portugal's libraries, terrible problems there. They didn't get rid of many staff. They just didn't buy any new books. So room hirers weren't charged in books, and weren't charged in money in some of their libraries, they were charged in books. Okay? Can you buy me 10 new books, then you can have the meeting room? Well, that was interesting. Someone came up to me when I was speaking, and they said, you know this talk you've been giving about all the volunteer libraries in England and how they're doing? Well, he's the chief librarian for that state of that town in Spain. He thinks they're a good idea. He hadn't heard about this, which worried me a bit. And there was a very eminent Barcelona's real leaders in public libraries. And I was on the panel, he was over there, and he blamed me for, I think he meant the UK, but it was translated as I blame you, for making people question the value of public libraries and if public libraries are actually as essential. Because when I was a librarian in the 90s, there was no doubt we were complacent as heck, looking back then. I mean, it was painful, but we were. We thought no one would close libraries because people love us. Okay, people use us. Turned out not to be the case. Okay, there's a complacent librarian now. He or she probably doesn't work in public libraries. And if they do, they don't read my website on a regular basis. And I realised how small the world is. Okay, the world is tiny. I was in Spain and I met Jane Cowell, who is still State Libraries of Queensland, I think, in Australia. And lovely lady, knew her stuff, and we started talking about security barriers and what a waste of time they were in public libraries and how we spend a fortune on them. And it's so easy to circumvent them. Like, it's so easy to steal a book from a public library. It's ridiculous. Wrap silver foil around it. So I want an article about why you should save money by not using them. Okay, due to me meeting her in Spain. Okay, other people, this is Nick Fortune commenting on it, going, oh yes, you're right. And then this is someone from Saudi Arabia saying, yeah, actually, we had a security system as a waste of time. It'd been far easier to actually have employed someone to check the bags. So I thought it was great. I was talking to an Australian in Spain and someone from Saudi Arabia gets on board. It's a real global thing. And if we limit ourselves to our own, I mean, I was limiting myself to my own branch, effectively, for 10, 15 years of my professional career. Didn't learn much. Then you learn more and more, and now I'm trying to understand what's going on globally, and that's quite a challenge. But the more you learn, the more you know, and actually the less you know, the less you realise. Oh, I messed that one up. Anyway, becoming an expert in Lego while having no idea. Okay, I have never set up a Lego club, never done it. Didn't stop me writing a web page about how to do it though, because I tweeted all the Lego club experts. Actually, I put a tweet on the Twitter feed saying, does anyone know? Can you get in touch? And 10 people tweeted saying, yeah, we've got one, or you should contact her. Good one in Australia. And because libraries are not competitive, we are not in competition with each other, we don't hate each other's guts. We all want to help each other. Actually, we're librarians, you know. Generally, librarians I've talked to actually want to help. They all helped me set up a web page, which is now the 5th most successful web page on my site. 7,500 views, it says there. And that's all librarians Googling Lego in libraries, and they're all finding ideas about it from my website. And at the time, I hadn't set up a Lego club. Now I've set up 4. But at the time, I hadn't set it up. So I thought that's interesting. This here is a chap from Canada who emailed me because I mentioned makerspaces. At the time, this was 3 years ago. Makerspaces were a big thing. 3D printers, so cool. I want one. And he'd already set them up. So he emailed me with the do's and don'ts about it. So that was very good. I just love the fact that Compass is so international. If you have a site and you ask people and you have an open mind, the world will actually tell you what the best strategies are. It's great. And so, of course, being slightly obsessive compulsive as I am, I listed this. I like lists. I list everything, I link to it. So another page on my website, Ideas and Innovations in Public Libraries. This is a very popular web page as well. So you can go through it, and it's all categorised, and it says what the ideas are, and it says who did them, and you can click on it, and you can find out. And every post I do has got the changes in local authorities in the UK, but it's also got ideas. All right. My website started out as a campaigning website. Now it's a lot more inclusive than that. I didn't used to report the good news stories because I was angry. All right. Now I report everything, and I feel a lot happier for it. I'll say. What time is it? Am I okay for time? 10 to? How much longer have I got?
At least 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Cool. And other people will help. Someone that lives in the southwest coded. I don't know how he did it. He wrote a bit of code on his website to demonstrate how you could do it. So you could change everything which I wrote into graphical form, because I write things very clearly. I say the same thing every day. Local news by authority, then I name each authority, the official name of that authority, then what's happened in it, okay? Well, that's great news if you're coding, because you can write something that will translate that into graphical form. So this is what he's done. So, all right, looking at that map, where do you think has got the most problems at the moment when it comes to changes? Can you note the odd one out there? Lancashire. Yeah, Lancashire closing 37, I think. So that's a lot, isn't it? Well, they're not closing them, they're passing them to volunteers, you know, they're inviting parish and town councils to take them over. It's an exciting opportunity for local community groups. Sorry, did I say they're closing them? Sorry, my mistake. So, that's it. And you can click, and again, you can click on one of those dots and that will link to it. You see, everything which I do is all linked to. So I don't want to be accused, and it would be terrible to be accused of making things up. Because if you're trying to be a neutral information source, as public libraries are, public librarians are, showing bias, especially lying, will annihilate you. Okay, it absolutely will. I don't even try to exaggerate. And frankly, as a public librarian in 2016, I don't need to exaggerate. Okay, everything is linked to. Very useful for politicians who are through the media. There is one issue with it, and I'm aware that I do have some bias. This is, this is a map of all my Twitter followers. Okay. 75% from the UK, 3/4. 8% from the USA, that's good. 3% from Australia, 1.3% from New Zealand. Where's the New Zealander? Hello. It's not you, is it? No. Okay.
I was just thinking we ought to get your site translated into French, or some of it.
Well, Google Translate's actually very good. When I've been emailed to by the Spanish and the French or whoever else, I always email back using Google Translate in their own language.
It does make them
And then I do it in English underneath, so it's clear, but I'm making the effort, you know. I've not learned her language, but I'm making the effort.
We've got nobody from Francophone Africa.
Yeah, absolutely. And you notice the Russian element is pretty down low as well. Mind you, I get lots of hackers from Russia. It was my site got seriously hacked and it got taken over by a bunch of Russians for 2 or 3 days, and you could see them hacking. You could see it because I've got a friend who is a programmer, and he was saying as he was trying to regain control of the site, because my site comes up quite high in the Google searches. Okay, so it's got value. You can link to other sites from my site, and that will push them up for Google listings, all right? And he said he could see them in real time adding links to dodgy websites on my site at the same time as he was trying to steal control. So a massive bias there towards English speakers, isn't it? Because my site's only available in English unless you translate it. And that's the same the other way around, because most of what I report is by necessity English, because I only speak English. So I try and put non-Anglophone stuff in. I try to make it global, but you know, it's a challenge. But I am aware there's a bias there. A lot of my news stories are from the USA, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, because Google tells me that's for sites. Because actually, thinking about it, my search term is library. It should be bibliotech as well. I should need to have that.
And you can search google.fr. Did you know that?
Yeah, but I've only got 2 hours a night.
Yes, but you know.
But yes, you're right, I can do that. But there is bias to a site at the moment.
If you do use google.fr, you'll get the Anglophone stuff as well.
Google.fr.
FR for France.
Google.fr. Thank you. I need to add that on.
Or DE or AS or whatever.
So I can add all of those into my Google search.
Or google.com brings you everything.
And then, would the search result come back in English? Or it would come back in the language, wouldn't it?
Yes,
Come back
it
in
will.
French. I can help you to translate it. I'll give you my email after.
Google.
It'll come back with some material in English, but the original documents in French will German.
but I can press and translate them.
Yes, but it's very dodgy.
It gives me an idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you very much.
It's translate.google.com.
Yeah, I use Google Translate all the time. Love that. So thank you, that's useful. I might add it on. But at the moment, I'm aware most of what I report on is in the English language. And it's amazing what you can learn, and it's a two-way process as well. I came across a library, this is a New Zealand one, for a set. This is an RFID-enabled cat flap, okay? And I love that idea. This library had a library cat. There are not enough library cats in the UK. I'm happy to go back and say we need more library cats. Okay? Come on, Britain, more cats. So I love that, and I got in touch with them about it because it piqued my interest. He said, "Oh, it's part of our new library." So he sent me a whole bunch of pictures about their new library, and I emailed back questions. And on my website now is a review of this library in New Zealand, which I've never been in. I've never been to New Zealand. But as a review of all the innovations that are in this library. And then in my own authority, Cheshire West and Chester, we're setting up a new library. We're having a big new library opening in Chester. It's combined with a theatre, cinema, meeting space, cafe. That's a library bit there. The New Zealand Library Authority, Lianza, found this very interesting. And they said, "This is great, can you tell me more about it?" And they only found out about this because of reading my review of their public library. So it's a two-way process. And this is what I love about all of this, is it's not like traditional media where I am telling you what's happening, people are telling me as well. And because it's a two-way process, and because we're learning more and more of each other, everyone gains from it. Love it. And there's some amazing ideas. This is Norway. Oh God, I want to learn Norwegian. I don't have the time for it. This is a youth-only library that they're starting, but this isn't the interesting thing. Well done on them for having enough money for a youth-only library, I say. But the interesting thing here is they can have drones flying around that read the RFID tags off of books and will tell the librarians where the books are. So that the librarians can go, "Right, that one's in the wrong section," and they can do it each morning.
Drones in the library.
Drones in the library, flying around,
Right.
reading the RFID. No one's ever done that before. They're going to do it. And someone's reading my Twitter feed and going, "How are we doing that then? Hang on, I'll contact them." So he emailed the library in Norway. Apparently he had a lovely telephone conversation with a Norwegian librarian who's told him how to do it. And now he's going to start doing it. He's thinking, "I see no reason why we can't do this." So, because of connecting to people who I've never met, I don't even know where, where's Toyin? No idea.
I think Toyin is.
Where?
I think Toyin.
Toy library, is it?
Toyin, I think it's part of Oslo.
Is it Oslo? Right, okay. Oslo, I find out, because linking this library in Oslo with this chap who I've also never met, alright, something will change from it. And I'm pretty sure, actually, the Lego libraries, which has come from information from New Zealand, Australia, from Canada, from the USA, I'm pretty sure there's a lot more Lego libraries in the UK, because people read this website and go, "Ooh, that's what you could do with it." That's the reasons for it. I've never visited any of these Lego libraries. I don't know for certain, but I think my website, which I write on the sofa, has had a demonstrable impact. And some craziness. This is a library in Mexico. This is a health and safety nightmare. Look at that. And this is for children. Do not learn from that.
It looks like a sort of skateboard park.
There's so much wrong with that. There is so much wrong with that. I mean, is that great? I mean, it's just like, don't learn from that. But there's all sorts of fun stuff, okay? I don't know whether you're supposed to run over these shelves or what. But anyway, but also sometimes, sadly, it can give you a sense of perspective. I do get these stories from Iraq, from Syria, from all sorts of places. And this is a National Librarian of Iraq talking about the retaking of land from ISIS. And he's saying that the librarians there, look, we think we're in a crisis, all right? Librarians in Iraq will laugh in a Who did I laugh at earlier for saying they had a budget cut of 1%? British Library, hello. So public libraries in this country would cherish a cut of 1%, okay? That would just be, oh, thank you so much for cutting us for only 1%. These Iraqis would think that we're in heaven, wouldn't they? When an area is liberated from the killers, we send them books to replenish whatever has been stolen or purposely destroyed, all right? What sort of perspective is that? And there's all sorts of libraries, all sorts of countries doing all sorts of things, and we need to learn from them. Particularly now, we need all the good ideas we can get. So, in summary, this is my journey, okay? I started off in 1994, me. I roughly knew my job, okay? Knew my job. Then, over a few years, working in that branch, I started to know what everyone else was doing, okay? Then I got out a bit more, attended a few meetings. I got to know wonders what my own authority was doing. And you know, there's a disturbing number of people that are still stuck at branch working in public libraries. There's quite a few people still stuck at me, I suspect. Okay. Knowing what's going on in your authority should be a fair minimum, shouldn't it? But there's lots of people who are not there yet. But when I took over, when I started the website in 2010, I started learning what was going on in the UK. My manager described me as the premier public library nerd in the UK. And I'm proud of that, okay? Because it appears to be the truth. Okay, if anyone knows more, minutiae and sad little facts about public library changes and cuts in the last 6 years of me, they need to be locked up. So I'm now at the UK bit, but actually I'm starting to realise there's this whole big circle there. Massive one. And the more we learn, the more ideas we can get, the better librarians we can be, and the more chance our public libraries can survive and grow better. Let's go beyond. Thanks so much.
That was great, Ian, and very inspiring. And it just shows what you can do. Fancy getting on the front page of the paper for what you do on your sofa.
Have you heard